All right, we're at 10:05. Rebecca, should we go ahead and start? All right, good morning, everyone. I appreciate you all making the time to be here today with me, Lynette Harley, and my supervisor, Rebecca DeSantis Randall. We are part of the Office of Equity and Inclusion for the City of Frederick. We will be muting everyone during the presentation, and at the end, we will have a Q&A. In the meantime, as the presentation is moving forward, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat so that we can review those at the end. The chat will be at the top toolbar of the screen if you aren't familiar with Teams. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and start. All right. So our biggest hope today is to educate and assist all of our local businesses on the two available programs that we have specifically for small business and or minority and women-owned businesses. These two programs were designed to assist the small businesses and MWBEs grow in the City of Frederick and have that opportunity to bid in our procurement contracts. Right. And this is where Rebecca will take over.
All right, so depending on the year, the City of Frederick actually can have between $20 and $30 million in what we consider to be controllable spending in our budget. So every year we have a budget that is passed, and that determines sort of what type of spending we'll be able to do throughout our fiscal year. So in terms of the contracting opportunities that we tend to have in our controllable spending, usually falls into one of these categories: construction, both on the design and the build side, professional services, such as engineering, architecture, consulting, graphic design, things like that. We do a lot of general service contracting, HVAC, cleaning, maintenance, painting, really anything in that general service category. And then, of course, off-the-shelf products and services. We certainly purchase things from all types of off-the-shelf, but especially for we purchase machines for our Department of Public Works and different things like that. Typically, we don't procure things like IT systems because, of course, we have an in-house IT team. We don't tend to procure communication services because we have a communications department here. And we don't tend to procure retail or restaurant services. That's just not something that's typically something that is procured by the local government. But this is just sort of a bit of a list of what we tend to procure. We sometimes procure things outside of this sort of general list here. So in our past fiscal year, we spent nearly 72 million awarded to 224 projects and activities that promote community development, economic growth, and things in that general area. So for the city, we have sort of three big buckets of spending. I'm actually going to go from the bottom to the top. So our first one, that under $10,000 category, those are small dollar opportunities. Those are typically made at the purchasing discretion of the department that is doing that purchasing. When our city staff go through the purchase of something that's what we consider the small dollar opportunity, they have different procedures that they would go through versus what they would go through for some of these other purchases. But there are plenty of small dollar opportunities that the city has. Those are typically, again, made by the department itself. For our $10,000 to $50,000 category, these are considered our medium-sized purchases. Those are services or products that are required by the department to follow a competitive pricing policy and obtain at least 3 quotes prior to going to a contract. So again, for our medium-sized ones, we do require our staff to go through 3 quotes in order to move forward with the purchase in this category. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how our small business reserve fits into that specific category. And then for things that are over 50, that's when things are typically going out to bid. So we're requesting, either we're requesting proposals or we are putting out a request for bids. Typically, it's going through, like I said, the formal procurement process. It's typically listed on our city bids page, and we also make sure to post on eMaryland Marketplace. We can talk a little bit more about how we connect with the state a little bit later. They're also typically placed into the local newspaper, typically into Frederick News Post. And each time that those announcements happen, there's documents and forms that talk about the opportunity to bid. And there is some difference in the length, but typically those remain open for about 4 weeks. Sometimes they might be shorter depending on the actual thing that we are looking for proposals on or bids on. But typically we're talking that these bids usually go out for about 4 weeks. And we're going to show you a little bit later where you can find information about our available bids. But this just gives you an idea of how we break down our spending here at the City of Frederick. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our first program, the Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Program. So the goal of this program is to increase minority and women-owned business participation in city procurement. Now, we have this program because the City of Frederick went through a disparity study a couple of years ago, which is a legal requirement for us to be able to have a program of this type. So what this program specifically is looking at is typically our larger spending and looking at bringing in minority and women-owned businesses into those larger purchases, typically as subcontractors. So we have a set of annual aspirational goals that help us to measure how we are doing in terms of our MWBE participation. And it really is serving as our general benchmark in which we are measuring our effectiveness in bringing them into our city procurement. So for the MWBE program, all of our construction contracts that are over 250,000 include a contract goal. So this program, unlike the program we're going to talk about later, involves actual goals for the contracts that we are procuring. So the goals themselves are based off of the scope of work and the availability in those categories of work of MWBE subcontractors. So typically when you look at a bid on our website that is for construction over 250,000, you'll see on there that there's going to be a minority business enterprise goal and a women business enterprise goal. And those two goals are something that the prime contractor has to go about trying to meet as part of their contract when they're submitting their proposal. So either the bidder, typically the prime contractor, is meeting that goal through what they send to us. So they send us and they say, these are the subcontractors that we're using, and they meet the goal, or they are providing significant good faith efforts to meet that goal. Typically, when we think of good faith efforts, we think of the prime contractor doing work to make sure that they are trying to find subcontractors to do the work. That can include different types of outreach. That can include meeting with subcontractors. That can include looking at the state and seeing what available contractors there are, things like that. And they provide that information to us for us to ensure for compliance purposes. The subcontractor usage does become a material part of the contract and is monitored by city staff, myself, and Lynette. So this program, again, is specifically for those construction projects over 250,000. And what's important to know about this program is that we do require that the subs that are being used are certified MWBEs. So typically, if you're hearing from a prime about a project that we're doing, they're looking for certified MWBEs, which we'll talk more about in a bit. So when we talk about certification, the city accepts either the DBE or MBE certification. That's typically what the state refers to it as, or other MWBE certifications from other certifying agencies. So basically, we accept reciprocal certification in our geographic market. So that could be in the county of Frederick. That could be MDOT, which is typically where we get the certifications from. It could be for DC, or any certifying authority in that region that you see listed there, Washington, Baltimore, Arlington area. We highly encourage MWBEs to pursue certification, and especially if they're considering doing work in construction subcontracting. So we really encourage you to review the website that Lynette's going to actually talk about a little bit later, through MDOT, because MDOT is Maryland's official certifying agency. Now, certainly that doesn't mean that a business couldn't go about this type of certification with another agency, but we certainly encourage the MDOT one because it certainly opens up businesses not only to doing business with the state, but doing businesses with the city and other municipalities who have similar types of programs to ours. Okay, go for it, Lynette.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And so just piggybacking off of what Rebecca just said, we do encourage you to go to MDOT website, which we will share with you this PowerPoint at the end of the presentation. You will receive it by email, and you can see the link here at the bottom of the slide. They have trainings that you can join where they will walk you through their steps and qualifications to obtain that certification as a MWBE business. So just go ahead and take some time to go through their website, take part of their trainings, and again, highly encourage you guys to get certified if you have not already. Right, and we will now start our discussion over our Small Business Reserve Program, which is the second program we have designed for our small businesses. The intention of the Small Business Reserve Program was designed to increase the opportunity for all of our local small businesses in the area to become a prime contractor or to start getting that experience as a prime contractor. With that experience, we hope that your small business will not only grow in its capacity and ability of what they can do, but also gain that value that you may have not had the opportunity to have somewhere else. But we are wanting to work with you in you gaining the small business, gaining that prime contractor experience. And if not, we do hope to have matching events is what it's called, where a prime contractor can meet subcontractors and build that relationship. And then eventually at some point, we would like to see that subcontractor one day become a prime contractor. Accordingly, to obtain a Small Business Reserve Program contract, that you would go into our bidding site, which we will show you at the end, towards the end of this presentation. But if you have not had an opportunity to become certified, a certified small business or a certified MWBE, under the Small Business Reserve Program, you can self-certify, which we will also show you how to do that as well. Something important to keep in mind that as a prime contractor or under this Small Business Reserve Program, you do have to complete 50% of the work. So you can't subcontract and only do 25% or a small portion of it. You do have to do the majority of the contracted work. Another thing to keep in mind is that we do follow the SBA small business sizing. So here at the bottom of this screen, we are letting you know that your business cannot exceed 25% of the size standards set by the SBA. So we do encourage you to familiarize yourself with the Small Business Association website to kind of see what their standard size would be, and just making sure you're at that 25% or below when you self-certify.
And I just want to reiterate for Lynette that so the Small Business Reserve Program applies to construction projects that would fall under 250,000, but for the most part, is all of our procurement over $10,000. So that means that there are a lot of opportunities for small businesses to take part in this program because we do a lot of purchasing over $10,000. So for the city, anytime that we're looking to make a purchase or sign a contract over $10,000, it automatically falls into the Small Business Reserve Program, meaning that those bids, those contracts are set aside for our small businesses to take advantage of. Now, there are times when those contracts are exempt from the program for various reasons, but it's important to know that this means that there's a lot of opportunity for small businesses to take part in our procurement because we have so many contracts set aside just for small businesses.
Right, yes. All right, who is eligible for the SBR program? Any certified SBE can be eligible to participate in our procurement contracts. In order to qualify as an SBE, we would look to see if you have a letter or documentation from the United States Small Business Administration. There are sort of specifics there. You could qualify as an 8A firm or a hub zone firm. We would then review your documentation when you turn it in at that point. Another type of documentation or certification you could have is through the State of Maryland Transportation, MDOT. And last but not least, you can again self-certify with the City of Frederick, which at the end of the presentation, we'll show you our website and how you can obtain the documentation to become self-certified. And we're just touching base here at the end of the slide one more time of that sizing, because when you do self-certify, you are agreeing that you have already verified that you are within those standards, and that you by law agree to self-certify as a small business. All right, so now we're going to give you this video presentation. Here you will see you would go under departments at our city website and click purchasing. When you go there, you will see our mission statement, our functions as a purchasing department. You will see that on the left-hand side, you have your menu options for the 2 small business programs that we have, and you can also reach them from the bottom of the screen there. So we're going to click on vendor information first. This lets you know how to register as a vendor with the City of Frederick. There are a few topics that are covered right there on our website that you can read and review. As you start going towards the bottom of the screen, it says a new vendor and how you can register. So we're going to click there and take a look at that screen. Here you would enter your company's name, your main phone number, address, and you start filling in those tabs up there. And then you have time to double check if you have it or obtain it and come back and do this part. But this is all the tabs and information you would need to register as a vendor. Once that's completed and you're in our system, you could review sort of our guidelines of what we look at when we are procuring or when you're ready to bid. And we would then click on the small business program so you can kind of take a look at how you can self-certify. Again, our website kind of goes over who is eligible, what is the Small Business Reserve Program. And then at the very bottom, as we get there, we'll start seeing how you can obtain that vendor sheet. You can download it directly from our website, and if you have any trouble, you can email us to obtain that form as well. So again, how I can self-certify is at the bottom of the screen of the Small Business Reserve Program tab. And once you click on there, it will pull up this PDF format for you to fill out. It is really, really important that you fill out every single square. We cannot tell you how many times we receive applications that have missing information, and then we have to send it back and ask you to fill it in. We can't do our job if it's not fully filled out, knowing what type of small business are you, and if you are certified or not, or if you are self-certifying. If you are self-certifying, you would fill out those top forms, fill that form in, and then you would also complete that 3rd page where you are self-certifying your business because you do not have another type of certification. And you would sign, and then you would email that to us, which the email address is also on the sheet. But that is concluding our presentation today on the 2 programs. The last thing I'm showing you here on the video, sorry, is how you can see our current bids out there right now. So when you click on bids, it says current bids, and as of right now, we have 3 bids open for you to review and take a look at. When you click inside of one of the bids, it will tell you the timeline, how long is it open for people to review. If we've already created a plan for it, so you can become what's called a plan holder. so you can review the requirements, the type of work it's going to be, and if you believe you would want to bid or can take on the project. And there's different type of instructions and contact information too. So if you have any doubt or questions about the bid, you can call that number on that bid there and someone will answer those questions for you. And these are kind of the bids overviews of the ones that have already closed. So you can see like Rebecca had said earlier, we do quite a few throughout the year. And I just bring you back to the purchasing website just so you could one more time kind of see the overview of all of the options that you have from that page. But that does conclude our presentation today. And we again thank everyone so much for being here and kind of being our first learning series attendees. So we will go ahead and open it up so that we can see if you guys have any questions for us today.
Feel free to either put questions in the chat or you can just certainly unmute and ask them. But while you're thinking of questions, just to reiterate one more time, what's most important and the big thing we want you to take away is getting registered with the city as a vendor. That is the best way to not only find out about what opportunities there are, but also to expedite the process when you are ready to go after a bid with the city. You're already registered with us. We already have your information. It certainly makes it a faster process. But like I said before, it's important because you would then be people who would, businesses who would get the information first about when bids are available. And then you join a list of vendors who our staff look at when they're looking to make a purchase. So that's why we really, really encourage businesses to become vendors with the city so that you are getting that information first, and that you're expediting the process when you are ready to sign a contract with the city. And again, as Lynette said, they're all there on the website, but certainly you can always reach out to us to get that information as well. And it looks like we have a question. If you want to go ahead and unmute, that's fine. Or if you want to put it in the chat, either way is perfectly fine. So go ahead, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead, you can ask your question.
I'm trying to see whose name it is because on the screen, it just gives me ZS guest.
If you're having difficulties with the Teams as well, you could certainly put it in the chat. That might be helpful as well. But does anybody else have any questions?
Oh, Kelly's typing a question now. And there's no way we can unmute them, right, Rebecca? Because I can't seem to have that option to unmute them.
Okay. So I think
Yes, yes.
you would have to unmute. Yes, absolutely, Kelly. So this information, everything that we went over today is, of course, on our website, but we will be sending out the PowerPoint so that you'll have this information as well. We also have flyers and we have a brochure that goes over this as well. So you can get it in a lot of different places, but we will send out this PowerPoint and everything is on our website. And that's just City of Frederick, md.gov.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any further questions for us today? Well, as you again, we thank you guys for being here for our first learning series. We will be hosting a few more throughout the year. If you did receive our original invitation, the next one will be December 22nd in person. We are inviting a lot of local businesses and networking. So if you would like to join us still, even though you took the first series or our first class, we do welcome you to join us in our in-person seminar that we will be hosting on December 22nd at 10 a.m. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. And did you have any question? I'm sorry that it doesn't show your name. Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, I'm glad you made it because I did send him an email. All righty. Did you have a question or anything?
Well, if you do, you can certainly email us because
Yes,
you
yes,
got
I
an
will.
email about this event. So,
Yes.
well, thank you all so much and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.